Aloha and welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishy. My name's Lucia, I'm your hostess. You can find me online as Pearl of the Pacific. Welcome to episode 17. Finally, it's taken me forever to record. I've actually recorded this episode twice, and the camera has decided to cut off long portions of my sections. So I'm trying it again. Third time's the charm, right? Anyway, I am down in Florida visiting my brother-in-law and I guess sister-in-law, his wife. It's my brother's brother, his wife, and their daughter. So I'm at their house and I'm in their nice screened-in back porch. Outside, in the sun, without a jacket. It's the greatest thing ever. So I thought I would record outside so you can all hear some natural birds and sounds and enjoy the sunshine. I'm sorry the glare is kind of intense over on this side, but this happened to be the best background view. Sorry you get to look at the neighbor's house, but at least it's green for those of you who are in winter. I've been very much enjoying the green and the warmth, and I'm not excited to fly back tomorrow to 2 feet of snow. But it is what it is. I've enjoyed it while I've been here. We've been here about a week, and it's been fantastic. My husband's grandmother had her 90th birthday, which was the original reason we came down, and so a lot of the family flew in, about 90% of it. There was a few who couldn't make it, like my sister-in-law and her husband, because they just had a baby. So they have a little 5-week-old baby and they live in Hawaii, so traveling wasn't really an option for them. But a lot of the other family came, so I got to meet some of my husband's other family that I hadn't met at the wedding because they weren't able to make it. So that was really fun, and we've just kind of been hanging out with family, spending time, doing things around Florida, enjoying the weather. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that my husband and I went to Universal Studios yesterday, which was awesome. We went in costume as Harry Potter, or Hogwarts students, I guess. We originally were doing Harry and Ginny, and then we realized we're kind of a little old for that, so we're tending more toward the James and Lily, or just random Gryffindor Hogwarts students. And it was great. There's a lot of people who commented. We got to go in a couple of express lines even though we didn't have the express pass, which was really fun just because we were wearing costumes and people treated us like we were, part of the club. It was really fun to go in costume. At first I was thinking, oh, it's kind of stupid to go in costume, but it was totally worth it. We got some frozen butter beer, which was amazing. We ate at the Three Broomsticks, and the food was really good, actually. And it was great. Of course, we went to other parts of Universal Studios, the Islands of Adventure Park. And we went on the Spider-Man ride. That was another one of our favorites. And of course, all of the Harry Potter rides were awesome. They're actually adding some more. So there'll be a couple more rides, and all of Diagon Alley will be added in a few months, so we'll have to go back eventually. But it was really fun to do that together. We haven't really done a whole lot of just fun things together because we don't have time, or we're working, or we're tired, but we're here on vacation, so we made it happen, and that was awesome. Anyway, enough about my week in Florida. Let's get started. Thank you everyone who's been subscribing to the YouTube channel. That's probably the best way to get updates about new episodes. I'm also on Vimeo, but the video quality isn't as good there, so I suggest YouTube. You can also view it on my blog, pearlofthepacific.info/podcast. If you just go to pearlofthepacific.info and click podcast at the top of the page, which is up there somewhere if you're watching on the blog. Those get fed in from YouTube, so either way. Feedly is another good way that people have been using to subscribe to podcasts because Blip is being silly. Anyway, those are some options. So thank you for subscribing. That's really exciting. And that's all of the announcements. Oh, the February knit along, the red and pink knit along, is going fantastically. There are, I think, 7 or 8 people who have finished projects and posted them in threads, so thank you for that. Keep them coming. Keep going on those red and pinks. I've got mine going. I brought it with me to work on it. I haven't actually worked on it because I've been working on other things, but it's looking good. And I'm working on getting some prize yarn. I have some, I think, in my stash, but my stash is at home and I'm in Florida. What are you gonna do? Let's see. Those are the only 2 announcements, so let's get on to knitting on the island. I have these were the spring forward socks, but the pattern and the yarn was not stretchy enough to fit over my mother-in-law's foot, which I was afraid of. But I tried them on at a certain point and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to frog the whole thing and start over with an easier pattern. So I am adapting a pattern. Can't remember the name of. I'll look it up. It's not on my project page yet, but this is it so far. Ooh, it kind of focused. So the original pattern was just these, it's a slip stitch pinstripe, I guess, and then on either side of it is basically a moss stitch. You knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. It's a pre-pattern, so I'm not giving anything away. But I added some little yarn overs and knit 2 togethers and slip knits. It doesn't look as good when it's bunched up, but when you stretch it out, it actually looks pretty cool. So I've been working away on those. I ripped them out Friday and worked on them a lot on Saturday, and yeah, so this is what I've done since Saturday, and today is Tuesday. I know what day it is, yay! I'm on vacation, so I'm not really paying attention. But I turned the heel, I did the fish lips kiss heel. Anyway, you don't want to see me make funny faces, that's just weird. Anyway, that's where they're at. I'll probably finish them on the plane tomorrow, if not tonight. And those are out of Lorna's Laces Soulmate, sorry. Sportmate is the sport weight version of it. It's the Outlast and wool. And that's the South Shore colorway. And the only other thing I brought with me that's actually on the needles is my Smaug socks, which have gotten work since you last saw them. They've not gotten work since I last tried to record. But these are bright red. And I've split for the reverse stockinette portion. And I am working down the leg. And I'm assuming at some point I will get to a heel turn. But I was really working hard on getting the socks done for my mother and father-in-law. So I haven't touched those yet, but those will probably get worked on the plane tomorrow. Oh, let's go back in. I've got all sorts of needles that I brought with me that are just kind of hanging around in different bags. And let's see what else is here. And the other thing that I brought with me that I have not worked on yet is I brought some self-striping yarn. It's the Biscotti and Say. I don't actually know how to pronounce that. It's some self-striping. Maybe that'll focus. You can kind of see the colors. I blocked this on a little bit. Anyway, those are going to be for me, and I think I'm going to do the Jaywalker pattern, the toe up version. But they match the bag that they're in, which is really fun. This is a Slip Stitch Studios bag with vintage bicycles on it. How good my battery's holding up. I'm not plugged in because I'm out on the porch, so those will get started probably on the plane on the way back. And this little table over here so I can use it. Ta-da! It's not my normal setup, so looking for room. Haha, little table for the win. See, that's the only thing. Oh, the other thing that's on the island is the present for my friend, the little minion that I've been working on. I've actually gotten fairly far on that. But it has lots of little pieces, so I didn't bring it with me, so I'll have to work on that when I get home. And that's it. I do have one thing that's set sail. I don't actually have it with me, but I have the leftovers, so I can show you those. The flock sock for my father-in-law, out of Lorna's Laces Soulmate, in pocket square. So that's the leftover pocket square. It's very manly colors, blues and oranges and reds, and some gray. And they turned out very well. I did take pictures on my phone of my husband wearing them because they have similar feet size, and I've not posted them on my project page. I will have to do that tonight. So I will post those on my project page so you can see pictures of them. I tried to show them on the screen, but I think I left my phone inside and it doesn't show up very well. So go to my project page, Pearl of the Pacific on Ravelry. You can see pictures of them there. You've seen them on the podcast before. So I just continued the pattern up the back of the leg and then did a very, very long 2x2 ribbed cuff. It's not really exciting, but they fit, hopefully. I sent them with my mother-in-law. She left yesterday. Yeah, I can't count the days. So I sent them with her. I was really trying to get hers done, but the fact that I had to rip them back and start over kind of put a crink in my schedule. So I will have to mail those to her, but that's okay. So that's the only thing that's set sail. Her socks will probably be done either tonight or on the plane. I think I already said that, but whatever. Alrighty, the other thing, I don't have anything from the mainland. Well, I do, but it's not knitting related. It's Doctor Who related. So, if you're not a fan of Doctor Who, it's kind of still exciting. But you can skip over a couple minutes if you want. My brother-in-law works at a bookshop, and we went and visited his bookstore, and I may or may not have purchased a large amount of books related to Doctor Who. Sorry for bending out of screen. I'm trying to pick them up off the floor here out of the bag. So, as you probably know, the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who just happened a few months ago, and they released a bunch of stuff for it, and also now we're waiting until August for the next series to start. So we're turning into the Sherlock fans, where we now have to wait forever for episodes. And I was part of a swap, a yarn or a knitting swap, a Doctor Who swap actually, Doctor Who knitting swap. That was long and complicated, but you get it. And they gave me, my swap partner gave me a book about Doctor Who, which I've been reading. And I never really got into the whole Doctor Who literature thing, but I've really enjoyed reading this book. So I thought, hey, why don't I get some more books about Doctor Who? And then I have something to do that's not knitting. What a concept. Mainly because when the cat sits on my lap, it's really hard to read, but the cat really wants to read. I mean, it's hard to knit because he wants to chase the yarn. So it's nice to have another option. So I got some books. Anyway, let me stop talking about the books and I'll show you the books. I got, of course I'm starting at the bottom of the pile here. It's The Life and Times of the Doctors. Ooh. And it has a section about all of the doctors. So it starts with the first doctor, William Hartnell. It has lots of pictures and notes and things that people have written. There's the third doctor, fourth doctor with his famous scarf. A lot of people in knitting know because people knit that scarf. Peter Davison, who is the fifth doctor, who I got to meet last year, which is pretty exciting. Then we get to the people. the people that people know more. Rose Tyler is companion of the 9th and 10th Doctors. There's a lot more about them. A lot more about those doctors. There's the 10th Doctor. There's David. And the 11th Doctor, who's my favorite Doctor, with Amy and Rory. Ta-da! He was my first Doctor, so he's my favorite, but I do enjoy all of the other Doctors, I must say. Now that I've gotten more into Classic Who, I've been really enjoying watching those. I also got, going from the bottom of the pile, which makes no sense, it's 11 Doctors and 11 stories. So here are the 11 authors, and they each wrote a story about one of the Doctors. So the first one wrote one about the first Doctor, and so on. And Neil Gaiman is one of my husband's favorite Doctors, and so I saw that and I said, ooh, I want that, because he must have written one about the 11th Doctor, which is true. So it's a big book, so it'll take me a while to get through it, but it's a fun, just kind of collector's things. Oh, and it looks like it's using their companions, because here's one, the 3rd Doctor, and Joe, who is one of his companions. Exciting. So I haven't really I've started looking at this one, because it's more of, it's not a story that you have to read through, it's more of, you know, read sections, put it down, read another section. You don't have to read it from front to back, in other words. And then I also got some of the, they put out a series of books, one for each Doctor, with special covers for the 50th anniversary. And I got 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11. So you can see the pictures. Sorry, they're kind of wobbling all over the place. So you can see their pictures there, and the names, and the, so I'll turn it, oh, wrong way. Here we go. So those are the novels that I got. So, ta-da! I was really excited. I had them all in my hand and I was carrying them around, and I went up to my husband and I said, honey, can I get this whole stack of books? He's an editor, so he said, sure, why not? I said, sweet. I love being married to an editor. I can buy all the books I want. Right now I have about, we were discussing, I was joking that I only had one shelf of books and it's pretty much all knitting books in the house. And he has like a whole wall of books. Then we determined maybe I might have 2 shelves. Yeah. Maybe 3, 2.5. It's not very many. So, I just added. Maybe I have 3 now. So I'm really excited about reading some of those. Maybe I'll talk about them if you guys are interested in hearing about those books or not. Let me know. That's just the only thing I got, really. We got some small things at Harry Potter World, but mostly it was about the experience and the food. Food is good. Alright. We are 18 minutes in. Let's see. I don't want to make it too long. Oh, I had a review, but I didn't bring it with me. I got a lovely needle case that I bought on Etsy, and I asked the owner if I could do a review, and she said absolutely, but I didn't bring it down with me because I don't need it here in Florida, so I will put that in next week's episode. So look for that if you need an interchangeable needle case. This is an excellent one. I looked around a lot, and this is the one I found. And then it disappeared for a while because she went on vacation. And then it came back, and I was so excited. Like, I'm getting this. So, I finally have a decent needle case, and I'm really excited about it. Sorry, my show notes are down here. That's why I'm looking down a lot. That was the only thing. Oh, I got some yarn, but that's at home too, so I'll have to wait. I made these show notes a really long time ago because I was planning on recording. Well, I did record like 2 weeks ago. Anyway, this camera has issues sometimes. I was going to talk about product knitting versus process knitting. This is something that comes up a lot around knitters, just because people knit for different reasons. I myself am definitely a product knitter or a project knitter. I definitely pick out projects and buy yarn for specific projects in mind, and I definitely knit for those specific projects. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy the process. I definitely enjoy the process. It's something that keeps me calm, keeps me focused, helps me pay attention in meetings often. Otherwise, I play with my hands or take my pen apart or do something and look out the window at the birds and the squirrels. And so it helps me just focus my mind and helps me. I sometimes have anxiety over really random things. I don't know why, but it helps me calm that down. Helps me think a lot. People say it's very meditative. It is. Knitting is very meditative because you have to concentrate on that. So the back of your mind, your subconscious works on things. So that helps a lot when trying to work something out. It's kind of like taking a shower. Some people think a lot in the shower. I know I do. I come up with great ideas in the shower. I actually do most of the time. That's where a lot of my ideas come from. Because you're by yourself and you can talk to yourself and no one thinks you're weird because no one can really hear you. Except my cat. He really likes being in the bathroom when I take a shower. I think this happened because when I first got... Sorry, this is a tangent, but it's really funny. When I first got him, he had a really bad cold, and so his face was all congested, and so I called the place where I got him. Bird! And I said, he's really congested, what do I do? Should I bring him in? And they said, no, take him in the bathroom when you take a shower because the steam will help him breathe. So that's what I did. So for the first, week and a half I had him, he stayed in my room mostly because my roommate had a cat, so I didn't want to get her cat sick. So the only excursion he would take was to the bathroom. So now, every time I take a shower, he likes to sit in the bathroom and listen to me talk. To myself or to him. It's kind of funny. Anyway, back to knitting. I don't know. I mean, both process knitting and project knitting are really good for their own reasons. It kind of depends how your personality fits with knitting. I wouldn't say that one's more driven than the other. It's just that they're just different. It's like English style knitting versus continental knitting. They're just different. One may be faster, one may be easier. It's kind of up to you and how you work and what works for you. So in the thread on Ravelry for the group for this episode, or on the blog if you want to leave a comment about, what type of knitter are you and what type of knitter are you and why, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know if I can answer that question. I can try. Now that I'm thinking about that. Why am I a project knitter? I guess I've just always been very project driven. I mean, I am an engineer, so you design to solve a problem. Like, you have a problem and you have to design to fix it, basically, or find a solution to it. So it's something that I do every day, to design and create for specific things. So it's just something that my brain does a lot. So it's something I do a lot in knitting. I want a pair of socks, I go buy some sock yarn, I pick out a pattern that works with that yarn and knit away. But definitely in the beginning I started being project driven. I saw an item that I really wanted, so I bought the pattern or got the pattern, downloaded it, printed it out, and then went and bought yarn, and then discovered, it was wrong yarn, wrong needles, and I went through a whole thing with that. I'll show you one of the two first things I knit were two things by Alana Dacos, I think it is, because I started following her on Twitter. I don't really use Twitter anymore, but she was having a sale, and so I bought 2 of her things. One was the cedar leaf shawlette, which you've seen, the purple one, and then the shawl collared cowl, which I've been wearing a lot because I ended up knitting it out of some alpaca. So it's really warm when it's really cold outside. And I must have knit that out of 3 different kinds of yarn, and none of them were right. You know, but I really wanted that cowl. And so I worked really hard to find the right yarn, and I ended up finding something that was like sport weight and holding it double, and that seemed to work, but it took a long time to figure out. And granted, I was just getting back into knitting. I knew how to knit, but there were a lot of things that I didn't know how to do. And so I had to find the right needles and the right yarn, and there was a lot of finagling, but it was all focused on that project. It wasn't, you know, oh, I have this yarn and these needles and let's just knit something. It was like, no, I want that. I want that object. And so I worked really hard to get that. And I think it turned out really well in the end, but it was a lot of learning, which was great. You know, I learned a lot about gauge and about drape and about, you know, how you relate yarn to a project. And that's something actually I've been talking to my husband a lot about lately. And that certain yarns work well for certain projects. Like the hat I knit. I forgot about the hat I knit. I'll go grab it. I actually have it here because I wore it to the airport. But there's this yarn that I bought on a sale at the LuBU, intending to knit a hat. And I've been saving it, not that long, I didn't buy it that long ago. But I really wanted a hat out of it, but I really had to find the right yarn, or the right pattern for that yarn. And I'd found the pattern that I wanted, and I started knitting it on the recommended size, and it was not right for this yarn. So I had to rip it back, which was like 2 rows into the ribbing, and change needle size. And so that worked. I'm gonna go grab the hat and I'll be right back. I'm gonna leave the camera running so that it doesn't have problems. You can look at the pretty view. Okay, I'm back. Here's the hat. Ta-da! This is the Godric's Hollow hat. Oh, it's alpaca. I thought it was cat hair. And it's a daisy stitch, which, let me tell you, is very annoying, but very worth it in the end. It turns out very pretty. And this is the Fiber Company Canopy. And I knit this last weekend. Yeah, it seems like a really long time ago, but it was last weekend over like 3 days. And it's not on my show notes because I wasn't entirely planning on doing it. But it's alpaca and wool, I think. It is on my Ravelry project page, so if you want to know more about it. It's a very cool pattern, and the texture works really well with this yarn. It's kind of got multi-tones in it. Anyway, now I feel ridiculous wearing this in Florida. I'm with my hair all over the place, but whatever. I don't care, I'm on vacation. I just heard my husband is playing with my niece, and they're playing with Lego, which is one of his favorite things. And now one of her new favorite things. And he's making ridiculous sounds. But it looks really cool. It's kind of a blue yarn with purple. It's blue and purple. It's very tonal. It's almost got, like, the purple is the halo and the blue is the undertone. It's really, I don't think it'll show up very well. You can kind of see the changes in color. I don't know if it'll focus on it. Anyway, this is a quick knit, as most hats are. And it turned out well. I wanted something that came down over my ears to keep me warm. I need to still wash and block it. I was just so excited that it was done that I keep wearing it and just keep pulling it down. Because it is long enough, it just needs to be washed and blocked to kind of really stretch it down. But it's fantastic, I love it, and I highly recommend this yarn. Next, if I knit it again, I might do it at a slightly looser gauge. I did the brims on size 2 and the top on size 4, which is really tight for worsted weight, but I wanted a really dense, warm hat, and that's what I got. So I can't really complain. So I cast on, it says to cast on 100, and I think I did 120, so that there's a few more stitches so that would fit around my head, even though, sorry, mosquito or something. I don't know anything about Florida bugs. We went to this park today, and it was kind of a swampy park, and there was forests, and there were all sorts of really cool birds, and I saw a really cool insect, and I saw my first wild snake. That was really exciting. It was a cottonmouth, also known as a water moccasin, which are highly venomous. Luckily, it was kind of asleep in the crook of a tree. I did post a picture on Instagram so you can see it. We almost didn't see it, but someone mentioned it as they were walking down the path and we were walking the other way. There's a boardwalk up above the marshlands underneath. So there's kind of a river marsh thing underneath, and then there's like a raised boardwalk. And so he was kind of off to the side and curled up in a tree. So that was kind of fun. I was glad that he was asleep and over there and not near me. But Hawaii doesn't have any snakes, if you didn't know. That's why I've never seen a wild snake. I have seen them in zoos. I even got to hold one when I was maybe 10. That might have been the first time I really had an up-close encounter with a snake. It was at the library that my grandma worked with, and they had a gigantic, I think it was a python. It was an albino python named Popcorn. I do remember that because it was white and yellow and looked like popcorn, so it was a very appropriate name. But I got to hold a little section of it because they had us all line up, and it's like, I'm touching a snake. It was really exciting for an 8 or 10-year-old. I can't remember how old I was. Anyway, I am now rambling on and on, so I will let you go now that I'm at a little over half an hour, although I did have to run inside. So enjoy the nice greenery behind me. I have been enjoying it. Hi. Do you want to come say hi to the podcast?
I'm already interrupting.
I'm right at the end. Here, you can meet my husband. You come say hello.
Hi, everybody.
This is my husband, Jeremy.
I have a hard time remembering to look at the camera.
Yeah, you have to look at the camera, not the screen.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing.
Fair enough. I hope you've had a good time.
Alright, with that, I will say goodbye, and I'll see you next week. Aloha!
Thank you.